So what if I were to tell you that there's actually a tool that lets you charge your iPhone 20% faster and up to 6 degrees Celsius cooler, and therefore preventing your battery from degrading that quickly? And that tool is this phone cooler over here. This phone cooler is usually used to cool down your phone during gaming, and its surface temperature can go down to 17.3 degrees Celsius. So I did 2 charging tests on my iPhone 16. The first one is wired charging without the phone cooler, and the second one is wired charging with the phone cooler. I used my temperature sensor and my power meter to record how much cooler the iPhone gets with the phone cooler on and how this affects the charging speed. Over here, the yellow line represents the charging test with the phone cooler, whereas the blue line represents the test without the phone cooler. You can see that when the phone cooler was used, it took nearly 20% less time to go from 0 to 100%, and the iPhone 16 was 4 degrees Celsius less warm on average. And if we were to look at the charging trend, when no phone cooler was used, the iPhone 16's charging wattage dipped twice, the first one going down from 20 watts to 11 watts, then the second one went down from 11 watts to 5 watts. But with a phone cooler, the iPhone 16 stayed at 20 watts for a longer time, then gradually descended to 16 watts, and later decreased again to 11 to 12 watts. Therefore, when a phone cooler is used, the iPhone 16 did not throttle as sharply and therefore allowed it to draw a higher wattage for a longer duration, thus leading to a faster charging speed. Now, if we were to look at the temperature curve, you can see that with the phone cooler on, it actually prevented the iPhone's temperature from continuing to climb initially, whereas for the test without the phone cooler, the iPhone 16 got up to 38 degrees Celsius. It basically stayed at 37 to 38 degrees Celsius for nearly an hour, but when the phone cooler is used, the iPhone 16 did not even reach beyond 36 degrees Celsius the entire time. And towards the end, there is about 6 degrees Celsius of difference. Now, looking at the battery trend, in both tests, the iPhone 16 got to 20% at pretty much the same time, but when the iPhone with the phone cooler got to 80%, the iPhone without the phone cooler only reached 65%. And when the iPhone with phone cooler got to 100%, the iPhone without the phone cooler only got to 92%. Now, what if we were to use a much more powerful phone cooler than the Razer one? So I repeated the test using this Blackshark 5 phone cooler. This one can go down to 3.8 degrees Celsius of surface temperature, which is about 5 times colder than the Razer phone cooler. In fact, during the test, this cooler got so cold that you can see the iPhone 16 drenched in condensations during the test. So overall, did the charging speed actually get faster? Unfortunately, with the Blackshark cooler on, it made practically no difference in the charging speed compared to wired charging without any phone cooler. You do see faster charging at the 20 to 80% battery range, but this advantage is cancelled out by the slower charging speed at the 0 to 20% range, as well as the 80 to 100% range. You can also see that the iPhone 16 got 11 degrees Celsius colder on average, even reaching down all the way to 23.3 degrees Celsius at the lowest point. So from this test, we can see that batteries need to be at a temperature that is not too warm or too cold. But just by providing it with some amount of cooling from a phone cooler, for example, it doesn't even need to be that strong, you can actually achieve faster charging speed while preserving the longevity of your phone's batteries. With that being said, I still don't know what is the optimal cooling temperature that gives you the best wired charging speed for your specific phone model, and it certainly does not mean that the Razer phone cooler is the best for wired charging. It just happens to hit a sweet spot where it is not too cold and therefore give a better charging result compared to something that's much stronger like the Blackshark Cooler 5. So does this mean that you should go out there right now and grab yourself a phone cooler so that you can get faster charging speeds? Well, I do want to let you know some caveats first before you do that. First of all is the fact that you will need to remove any phone case from your phone in order to achieve the best cooling effect, because anything that sits in between the cooler and your phone automatically becomes an insulation layer and therefore make cooling less effective. Secondly, there will be more electricity consumption in order to power the phone cooler. For example, the Razer phone cooler takes 2.6 watts to run, while the Blackshark 5 cooler draws 22.6 watts if you are curious about it. Thirdly, because there is a fan inside these coolers, there will be some noise produced, although it is not that loud and you probably won't hear it unless you are in a quiet room. But of course, this also depends on how strong the phone cooler is. Stronger ones typically have fans that are louder. Lastly, you will need an extra cable and occupy another charging port on your charger to power the phone cooler. You can use something like this 2-in-1 cable from Anker, which occupies just one port on one side and gives you two USB-C cables to power two devices at once, up to a total of 140 watts. Now, I know some of you will already be thinking that it's not pragmatic to bring this entire set of like phone cooler and a 2-in-1 cable together with you all the time, just to charge your phone about 20 minutes faster or a few degrees cooler. Well, what if I were to tell you that there is a Qi 2 charger out there that combines wireless charging with phone cooling at the same time into a tiny little package, something like this one. If you want to find out what is this mystery wireless charger, do check out my review over here. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.